You know what I'm loving is I was talking to you guys about this before the show hours ago, that Lord of the Rings, that new show that's coming out, they just confirmed they are not doing the CGI bullshit orc nonsense that they did in The Hobbit. They are going back to real deal people, physical effects, physical makeup, armor, and that makes me so much more excited for the show. That is part of what made the orcs and the Uruk-hai and everything in Lord of the Rings so spectacular, is because they were all unique people dressed up in armor with physical makeup added. Not that fucking nonsense in The Hobbit.
The Hobbit was just brutal to watch.
What year was The Hobbit?
It's probably 7-8 years ago now, I would guess.
Yeah.
And they stretched that one movie story into 3 movies, and fuck that. They absolutely ruined The Hobbit. But the physical makeup on the orcs, it may sound like a small thing. That's a huge fucking thing.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
To all the villains as well. Like, you want physical makeup on there. You get real facial expressions. And that also allows the actors who are engaging with those people to do a better job. And so that's why physical makeup is absolutely the way to go.
With enough money, I want to go. With enough money, CGI is good. I feel like this is done all. The CGI, when I was young, sucked, right? And it was like, oh my God, put firecrackers on models again. This space CGI is garbage. Now, if you would have put a firecracker on a model and try to pass that shit off like they did in the 70s, no one would want to watch that. That was terrible. Now, what they're having the hardest time with is people's faces, right? Because we're very sensitive for some reason to the way people's faces is. You know, we observe reactions, and it's important in how we say that again.
The uncanny valley, where you can tell there are minor things wrong with facial expressions made under CGI, whereas physical makeup, not a problem.
They don't do it, but give it time. Right, give it time. I think we might have to endure a few years of bad movies or something, and then they'll get it right. Then they'll figure out, like, aha, it turns out people are incredibly sensitive to the eye crinkles crow's feet thing, and we were making that smooth. People are incredibly sensitive to the height of an upper lip, or who knows what. And someday, it'll pass makeup. Just like spaceships did, monsters did.
I think it's gonna be a very long time if that ever happens. But I don't think that CGI spaceships have passed models. I think that miniatures are just way more expensive. But I think they look so much better on camera. Like, all that Starship Trooper shit is miniatures in frame. All the old Star Trek Next Generation, when you'd see the ship, is like a 6-foot miniature most of the time. They used a 4-foot most of the time.
In Lord of the Rings, there's a scene where they poured water on trees.
Looks awful.
Or something. It's garbage. Please do that.
Which scene?
I think, is it the third one? It
Break
involves
the dams.
Yeah.
Free the water.
Break the dams. Free the river.
It's terrible.
And then Treebeard is standing there, and so are Quick Beam and a number of other Ents that I won't name by name because it's very autistic. And you see all that water pour down, washing all the goblins and away, and some of the Uruk-hai. It does look bad, but why does it look bad?
Most of the Battle of Pelennor Field looks bad.
It's a model. It's a model. They poured some really small amount of water across a couple fake trees, and it looks terrible. It doesn't...
Water looks amazing with CGI now. They have mastered water. They had water mastered
Titanic
15 years ago or more. Like go back to The Perfect Storm, that movie that came out in like 2003 or something. I don't know. It's been a long time ago. Those waves are epic. They look real. They've mastered water. You cannot do water in camera and make it look as good in CGI, at least not with a miniature. Maybe you get a giant whirlpool or something and you could do it. But
wait, Kyle, I have to ask, did you mean to say that the Battle of Isengard looked terrible? Because the Battle of Pelennor Field, where it's all the Rohirrim charging in.
The Battle of Pelennor Field.
These aren't even real words.
Shit. The Battle of Pelennor Field looks like shit when all of those fake-ass green goblins and ghouls start sweeping over the field, and all of a sudden, these weightless phantoms are dragging down Oliphants. It looks like shit.
No.
Do you know what
I'm fine with that. What I'm saying is that initial Rohirrim charge in there
it's great.
is very inspiring.
Death!
Yeah.
One of the worst CGI scenes I've ever seen is, I think it was The Mummy Returns. It's The Rock when he debuts he bursts through that door as the Scorpion King, and it looks like a PlayStation 2 game. And he's just like,
people's elbows.
And it's just like, what?
There's a YouTube videos. I forget, Corridor guys.
Corridor Digital, right?
Yeah, they took that scene and made it not suck. They're like, oh yeah.
So they did a few things to his body. I think what they did was they went and redid it or like upgraded it somehow through CGI. But then what they did was they ran it through machine learning and used deep fakes for the Rock's face. So they ran like million photos of the Rock because he's in everything through scenes of movies, so you get every angle of him from that era, and they put it on and it looks better. It still looks crap, but for what they did compared to a high budget studio at the time who just rushed that scene, that was terrible.
Yeah, and there were a bunch of other things that like I wouldn't have picked up on. They're like, oh yeah, you don't notice too much, but do you see how his leg has no shadow? This example, with the specifics, don't pay attention to. But they're like, yeah, lack of shadow is actually a problem. And do you see how there's a light source here and it has no impact over there? Yeah, well, you know, like you don't know why it looks fake, but that's the kind of thing that makes it look fake. And they just did a lot of shit that I wouldn't have appreciated.
Yeah, some stuff looks great with CGI. Some stuff is an abomination. Like if you go to the Planet of the Apes movies, the new ones, amazing CGI. They can make monkey faces look real. They just look real. They look incredible. Like things like horses running, can't really tell the difference. Barely can tell. Like when they take like 50 real horses in Game of Thrones and they splice in 150 fake ones around them. I can't pick out the fake ones and the real ones anymore. But like if you go to a movie like The Thing's remake, you know, John Carpenter's The Thing back with Kurt Russell.
Yeah,
it's one of the greatest horror movies ever made. The original Thing with Kurt Russell. It's like top 5 on almost every list. Very good movie. It's all real stuff. It's all practical effects. And you have like these weird like tentacles flickering around with stop motion. It's all in screen. It looks real. There's models, there's puppets. It's gruesome body horror. Then they went and made the remake, which is technically a prequel, like, I don't know, 8 years ago or something like that. And they filmed it with practical effects again, because of course this has a built-in audience that loves practical effects. And the studio went, nah, CGI over all of that. And so they literally CGI'd over all of the like puppets and practical effects that these people spent God knows how much time and money making. And it looks awful. And it bombed.
This is like the rocket jump guys did, right? They're like, hey, you think you hate CGI, but what you hate is bad CGI. Here's some good CGI. Like I remember you praising Mad Max. Because Mad Max was all practical effects, and you said that for a long time. And then later it came out, like, we got to see what Mad Max looked like without the CGI enhancements. And it's like, oh, wowzers. Like, this is really a heavy CGI movie that's so good, we thought it was all practical.
A lot of it was practical, though. Like what the CGI was like, it was like what I described, where you've got like 50 real horses and like 150 fake ones added.
It had a 2-foot flame, and then in the movie it's a 16-foot flame. And you know,
but stuff like there's a scene like right at the end where the giant hulk of a guy rips the engine out of that like semi truck with his bare fucking hands somehow, and then the thing sort of hits one of those ramps so that it does that corkscrew wreck. Like they did that. Like a lot of the wrecks in particular were real. And so like the particle
when you
effects
see the wreck in real, there's barely any sand getting tossed. It looks really
it's been redressed.
I don't know how to underwhelming is what I'm looking for. Without the CGI, all those practical effects look lame. And then they add the CGI and they look big time huge.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of what they should be doing with movies, is not going too far in either direction. Unless you can master practical effects, go for it. But modern day, I think you combine, you find that walk the line of doing things practical and then adding CGI that you wouldn't notice, but you don't want to rely on it to be like the main character or animal all the time. Because you look back at movies that did CGI only so much. Like one of my favorite movies ever is Terminator 2, Judgment Day. And that movie still holds up to this day. Obviously, the T-1000 doesn't look that great, but for its time, 1991, that is an incredible looking movie to this day. And you look at the new Terminator movies, and everyone's kind of too CGI, and they're overdoing it. If you don't show too much, then it's way more believable.
Yeah, I thought so Terminator 1 even looked really good. The only scene that looks fake in that to me is when you've got the Arnold puppet of his head
yeah,
in the
the red
mirror
eye.
doing the eye surgery, and then the stop motion when he's just the endoskeleton, I guess endoskeleton, like walking around. That looks fake. But then in Terminator 2, the only like even the scene where the T-1000 jumps onto the helicopter, smashes it with his helmet, and then pours himself
Terminator
in.
2 is the
Yeah.
one where Arnold fights the metal liquid dude.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Robert Patrick. Yeah. That's such a good movie. That's one of my favorites.
Oh,
of
dude,
all time.
I swear I've seen Terminator 2 30 times, maybe.
At least, yeah, like many,
Yeah.
many times growing
did-
up. Watch.
I'm sorry.
I gotta tell you, Kyle, I was very triggered on your Pelennor Fields comment earlier until you that it was about the ghosts.
I'll
and
keep
the
that in mind, and I'll save it. I'll keep that in my back pocket for like 6 or 8 months, and then I'm just gonna like shit all over like the Twin Towers, or maybe like the whole plot of the Return of the King. Like
Nice.
just to wind you up.
We'll follow it up with
That's one of those
the
things
St.
that,
Louis Blues cheated to get a Stanley Cup conspiracy theory, and we'll have a Taylor Explodes episode.
That's what